Hi everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Shanae, the Sock Princess, and today is a very special episode. Today we're celebrating me passing the 500 subscribers milestone. There we go, that's the word, milestone. And yeah, I'm super shocked. First off, thank you everybody, all the new subscribers and my returning subscribers and new viewers and old viewers, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel whenever I post, because it's not excuse me, it's not as consistent as I would like it to be, but you know, whatever. So this episode I'm going to talk about my crafting journey, like where I started in crocheting and knitting, and I'm going to feature my very first pair of socks. So I first learned how to crochet in high school. Yes, I was a 9th grader in high school, and I was volunteering at my mom's daycare center, and one of the ladies there was crocheting, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm crocheting. And I was like, oh, looks cool. And she's like, well, come over here and I'll teach you. And she had me and one of my friends. She showed us, like, you know, basic stitches. I ended up liking it because it was fun. So I went to Walmart and bought a whole bunch of Red Heart Super Saver, and I just made like really long Afghans, like blankets for some reason, but they were more like rugs because I started them, like I chained a whole bunch of stitches, like 300, but I could never finish the whole thing. So it was like 300 stitches in about this much. So it was basically like a little rug. And I made a bunch of berets, like a whole bunch of berets. I'm going to see if I can find a picture, because I remember I made one like for high school, and I wore it because I thought it was super cool. It was cool. But it was just a yellow beret made from some Red Heart Super Saver that I got from Walmart. Yeah, I think at that time, I don't even know how I found that pattern. I don't know if it was the internet or what, because we didn't have internet when I was in high school. Like, it's not like today where every house has internet. Only certain houses had internet who could afford it. And we had it sometimes. It was very sporadic. I think I may have went to the library and like downloaded a pattern or something, but I don't know how or I could have just freehanded it, honestly. I don't know. But yeah. So fast forward. I did that throughout high school. When I got to college, I really didn't crochet at all until about I want to say it was my junior year or sophomore year in college. So that would have been about 2013, 2014. Yeah, between 2013, 2014, somewhere in there, I started crocheting again. Once again, went to Walmart, got some yarn. That time I might have went to Joann's. I think there was a Joann there. I might have went to Joann or Michael. Joann or Michael's, and got some, I don't know, some Karen cakes or something. And I made like a scarf or something. You know what it was? It was a project for one of my classes. I took an interpersonal communication class or something, and it talked about like doing things for self-care, and I picked back up crocheting for a project for the class. That's what it was. I think I ended up dropping that class, but whatever. So yeah, I stopped then, and I didn't start back crocheting again until about 2020, 2019, 2020, somewhere up in there. Yeah, because I was working at a hotel then. And at that point, I made like some headbands, but they were really chunky. I crocheted some socks, and that's when I found Tony TL Yarn Crafts, Tony Lipsy, her channel, and I just followed a bunch of her patterns. I watched her YouTube channel all the time. I bought her Tunisian crochet book as well. So from 2020 would have been my renaissance, excuse me, my renaissance of me getting back into the crafting world. And yeah, I made like little like wearables, like a little top. It wasn't like a top per se. It was more like a very net like thing. I don't know what you call it. Yeah, I crocheted my sister like a cardigan. I made myself a ruana. I was just, you know, into it. I was deep into the crochet game. I was like, oh, crocheting is so much fun. And I started watching more YouTube channels about like crocheting and fiber arts. And then I noticed some people like talking about knitting, and I was like, yeah, no, knitting looks way too hard. I don't think I'll ever do that. I'll just crochet everything. I don't need to learn how to knit. I'll be betraying my crochet beginnings or whatever. And at that point, I think this was 2022, I did buy some knitting needles from Hobby Lobby. They were some acrylic knitting needles, and they suck butt. Honestly, I tried to learn how to knit, and it went horribly. I was like, oh no, I'm never doing this again. I'm throwing away these. I threw out the knitting needles, and I just like, whatever, I'm gonna just keep crocheting. So that was 2022. I need to take a minute to see when I started like actually knitting. So yeah, the beginning of 2022 is when I, like, let's say January. It's hot. I'm sweating. I started to get a little bit of interest in knitting, and it was horrible. It's a fail. So then January 2023 is when I was like, you know what, I am going to learn how to knit. I want to knit socks, so I'm going to learn how to do this no matter what. So I looked up a bunch of YouTube tutorials about how to knit, then how to knit socks. So I got some yarn. This time I didn't go to Walmart. I went to Michael's. Ooh, so fancy. I went to Michael's and I had some carrot cakes. Actually, no, I had already had a stash at this point, and it was mostly from Michael's. Because there wasn't a Joann that was really close to us. It was just Michael's, and I got like I had a whole bunch of like Michael's own brand, some carrot cakes, you know, whatever. And I got that. I got some knitting needles I got the knitting needles from Michael's. Some straight aluminum needles, and I think I had picked up some circulars or something. Doesn't matter. So I learned how to knit. That was the easiest part, learning how to knit. Then I tried to learn how to purl, and I about lost it because it was just so hard. And there were so many different ways to do it, and I finally found one that kind of worked for me, and I kind of stuck with it. So yeah, learned how to knit, learned how to purl, learned how to do it in the round, and I think at this point I followed along with or at least tried to, a crazy sock lady, her tutorial about how to knit socks. I tried to do it magic loop. Couldn't figure it out. It seemed like some weirdness. Like I didn't know how to work it. It was really hard for me to grasp the magic loop thing, and that's what scared me off from magic loop for a while, but I can do it now. It's fine. So I knit, purled, And then when it got to like knitting in and around, I thought you had to knit one row and then purl one row, because that's how you did it knitting flat, right? And I was like, why does it look so weird? It's all like these bumps. It's supposed to be smooth. And that's when I realized, oh, I'm just supposed to keep knitting. So funny. So yeah, let's bring out my first pair of socks. I bought, and I wasn't really like, I didn't know about Ravelry, like I didn't really know how it worked at that point. So I bought the Everyday Socks pattern by PetiteKnit. I got it from her website and not from Ravelry. And now I have to always look for that pattern somewhere in my my computer files. But yeah, my first pair of socks, I knit these March 2023 and finished them about April 2023. And they are, let's just bring them out. Here they are. So this was the first sock. And I remember knitting this and I felt so proud. My gauge is crazy. Like, look how big this sock is. And look at that. I think I did a pretty good job on the heel, the German short row heel, for my first time doing it. I definitely got confused at some points, but you know, whatever. Now here comes the second sock. As you can see, the gauge tension's pretty much the same on the leg part. The foot, I don't know what happened here. It got very tight. I don't know if I switched the method or what. I think I did. I think in my Ravelry notes I switched to like flexi flips or something. But yeah, this is crazy. Like, this sock is crazy. Like, compared to what I can do now. But hey, I made socks. That's all that counts. And I just keep these socks as just a reminder of, like, you know, where I started from. Because everybody's a beginner. Like, every expert master at anything always starts as a beginner, and the beginnings are very rocky, as you can see. So I kind of use it as inspiration, and I bring them sometimes to like my knit night or like my knitting group, and I'll say, like, look, yes, I do love knitting socks, but if you're just starting out, don't expect your socks to look like how somebody who's been knitting socks for 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, and it's your first sock. So I bring this like, hey, look, this was my first pair of socks. Like, just because the first pair looks horrible, don't stop. Keep trying. You'll get better each time you do. So yeah, like from then on, every time I knit a pair of socks, I would learn something new about socks, or I'll get used to doing something. Like, now I've been knitting almost 3 years now. I'll be 3 years come January, which is in about 4 months. It's 5 months. Yeah, whatever. Come January, it'll be 3 years of me knitting, and it's been mostly socks. Because that's what I set out to do. I wanted to knit socks, so that was my first project after, you know, learning basic stitches. And yeah, I had no interest in knitting hats, knitting dishcloths, blankets, whatever. I wanted to knit socks, so that's what I did. I think sometimes we do a disservice to beginners, and saying your first project needs to be like a washcloth or a dishcloth or a blanket or something, like, and you make something seem so impossible to do. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I've never knit socks in my whole life, it's going to be too hard. But I'm like, if you can knit a sweater or a cardigan, you can definitely knit a pair of socks. You're using the same stitches. It's the same stitches. You're only knitting and purling. Those are only 2 stitches in knitting, and if you can do that, you can do anything with some, you know, tweaking, a little work, maybe a tutorial here or there. But yeah, if somebody wants to knit a sweater, give them a basic sweater pattern. After they learn how to knit, purl, knit in the round, all that, let them knit a sweater. Like, but just set the expectation, hey, this is probably going to be the most jankiest sweater you've ever seen in your life, but you want to knit a sweater, here's your sweater. Because a lot of people might get stuck at the dishcloths, like, oh yeah, I try to knit, but I just mostly knit dishcloths. Like, you know, you can knit more than dishcloths. You can knit anything. You can knit underwear if you really want to. Why? Who knows? But if you want to do that, go for it. Yeah, so looking forward in knitting. I haven't knit a cardigan, so that's something I want to do this year. And looking forward with the channel. I'm at like 500 and something subscribers now, which is mind blowing, because like 2 weeks ago I had like 100 and something, 168 or 70 or something like that. Now I have well over 500. Thank you guys for your support. But for the channel, I don't really have goals for the channel. I do this for fun because, you know, I do have a knitting group that I go to, but I'm only there like, you know, twice a week, and I want to share all my knitting stuff with more people. So that's why I started my channel. I think that's it for this video. Like I said, it was going to be a really short special episode. This is definitely another filler episode. Like I watch a lot of anime, if you don't know. I mean, look at this shirt. It's Demon Slayer. And with One Piece in particular, like after a long arc, like the first episode will be a recap of everything that's happened since then. And I felt like that's what this episode was. It was just a recap of where I come from and where I'm at now. So yeah, thanks for watching my recap episode. Hope you guys stick around for more. Like and subscribe. I don't know what else to say, so I'm just going to end it. Bye.